Welcome to the Pixel Marketing Show, the podcast for real estate media pros who want to go from random acts of marketing to remarkable results. I'm your host, Pete Stagel, founder of PixlCRM and creator of the Pixel Marketing Method. And every week, we're diving into the systems, strategies, and real stories that help you attract better clients, retain them longer, and grow a real business. Let's get into it. We're jumping right into this one. Austin and I started talking before we even officially hit record, and the conversation was way too good to stop. So you're dropping right into it as we're already deep into talking about what it really takes to grow a real estate media business. Austin's story will sound familiar to a lot of you. A creative who never fit the corporate mold, paid off 90 grand in student loans, and then walked away from a safe job to build something of his own. It wasn't easy. For years, it was just him, grinding through shoots and figuring it out as he went. But once he committed to going all in on real estate media, everything changed. Today, he's scaled to a full team, doubled his book of business, and built real systems that let him step out of the field and actually run the business. If you've ever felt stuck between being the photographer and the business owner, this episode's for you. Let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Austin Sauer.
So it's been myself and one photographer for the bulk of the year. We hired two additional photographers back in like April or May, and were amazing. Long story short, they didn't last super long. They had other endeavors going on, and so we basically got them onboarded and trained, and then they blocked off all their availability. I was like, that's not quite what we were hoping for. So then we kind of got through the summer months with just me and one other photographer. And then we just finished training. This is actually their like first official week in the field. So this is the first time I've like actually sat down and been like, things are getting taken care of out in the field, which is a great feeling. I can actually like dive into some business growth stuff, but it's kind of been survival mode. We're thankful that the schedule's been super full. I would love for it to be full and me at home.
It'll get there.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I already feel with just this two new photographers, they're not even trained on video yet. They just passed their drone test. I already feel lighter just with having them out there. We had 10 shoots today. We had 12 yesterday. It's kind of in that ballpark, which is a good spot for us right now.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
Well,
What's up with you?
We've been growing like crazy, putting
That's
a lot of content out, a lot of trainings out, a lot of, really diving into the whole marketing experience for everybody. And, people are loving it. They're getting it's crazy because it's not necessarily brand new ideas. It's just applied to real estate media, and nobody else has been talking about it for, the entirety of the industry.
I do find that whether that's just because we're kind of like a service-based business or just come from the creative, and not many business owners have backgrounds in this type of information. So when they see solutions like Pixel where they can get organized and they can get automation set up, they're kind of like, this is a saving grace, which it is. Other business people might be like, this stuff's been around for a long time. But for us, it's super helpful because we don't have necessarily maybe as much business savvy industry-wide, but you're helping people learn.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I find that there's several ways that people could get into real estate photography. Sometimes it's like myself, where it's just another opportunity to build a business. But then other people are they're more creative minded. They like they're photographers, they're portrait photographers, they're wedding photographers. I mean, COVID definitely made a big shift in all of that.
Yeah.
And they all come into the industry and they don't have that background. They have the creative side, and quite frankly, it's a different side of the brain.
Yeah.
Typically, numbers and strategy and marketing is over here, and then the creative side is over there. And it's really just not the same skill set that most people have. So.
No. And I feel fortunate that for a long time I've kind of felt 50-50, which may be an anomaly. Like I have a creative side, I have we'll call it like the more logical business side maybe. I don't know if I should say I'm creatively fulfilled because I'm not necessarily doing anything creative, but I have way more interest in building the business than I do in taking pictures. and I feel fortunate to be in a position where my brain, when I wake up, goes to sales and marketing and not, I want the best picture. I really enjoy sitting in the office, conceptualizing, thinking big picture stuff, and then bringing in as much help around me to get that stuff done.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say that it's a little bit of an anomaly, but not entirely, because a lot of
Yeah.
people that I talk to have that want to do more on the business side, and they kind of like that, especially once they get a taste of it, especially after maybe shooting for a couple of years and doing the same house 6 times and same floor plans, and it's like, okay, I'm not fulfilled with that anymore. I want to
Right.
grow the business and do more on there. Some people I talk to, they're very much photographers, and they that is just the direction they want to go. And
Yeah.
the business part is a necessary evil that they have to build
Right.
and get things to do. And they want the systems, they want some of the processes, so they don't have to do it manually, because they just want to be out there shooting pictures the entire time. It's like,
Yeah.
everybody's different, and it's not one way is better than the other. It's just
No,
one way is
yeah.
better than the other for that
I see
person.
the messages on the message boards are all, the community that's been built, and you'll see some people just push hard back on maybe new editing processes that pop up or new automations that pop up, and they push back with all their might. And I see stuff like that. I'm like, no, we're good to go. Like, let's keep going.
Yeah.
I think that they're probably, yeah, they really hone in their craft, which is amazing. I hope they get paid well for it.
Well, that's the other thing too. And one of the reasons I didn't go to PMRE the first several years that it existed was that it was all about the people who wanted to be architectural photographers.
Mm,
The ones that were doing real estate as a stepping stone. The next step is to just get better and get better and get better, so that you can shoot, a dozen shoots a month and make, all the money you need.
right.
And it's like there's different methodologies in this business. And so that is a valid path. If that's what you want to do, absolutely go for it. But the high volume, middle of the market agent is also a viable strategy, and that's what I liked. And
Yeah.
and as soon as they started going more along the lines of, okay, real estate media is an industry by itself, not just people who want to get better and better and better. That's when I started going to PMRE, because
Yeah.
it was, it wasn't just this focus. It's like, I'm not going to sit there and watch the critique of, the light coming in this one room over here, and
Yeah.
how if you added a light over here, you might, no, that
I used to appreciate that stuff, and maybe I've been tainted just in the real estate world. But when I was at PMRE last year, well, and not to talk bad about anything, but I was really struggling with that session because
I struggle every year with
yeah,
this.
I can on one hand appreciate it, but also know it's not applicable to me, my business,
Yeah.
and where I'm trying to take things. The moment that I found out that real estate media didn't have to fall on my shoulders as an individual, I was like, that is actually what I'm searching for. I'm searching for something that is growth oriented, scalable, fun. I'd rather be doing this than really just about anything else. And if I were to take some architectural shoots or interior shoots a couple times a year, they would be purely out of desire,
Yeah.
but not out of a growing a business.
Yeah.
Be like a change up. I've told the guys I was training, and I'm sure you have too, we go in these houses, I'm like, you're going to see these floor plans over and over again. You're going to know exactly where the bathroom is. You're going to know exactly what wall has this closet that walks into this room. It's the same thing over and over again. I found that a lot of the people that we train actually like that. They end up being a little bit structure oriented, systematic. Maybe that's why they have been attracted to real estate photography. It's quite a bit different than, say, like portrait work, where you're engaging with people,
Exactly.
posing, like that stuff either. I'll do it every once in a while, but I don't like it.
That was the part I always said is like, well, why do you shoot, or do you shoot anything other than real estate? It's like, nope, I only shoot real estate because real estate doesn't have an opinion. Wait, what? Well, you do a headshot or a portrait or anything like that, they are always going to complain about it.
Yeah. It's really funny too, because so I started out photo centric. Some people, especially now, start out have a lot of video experience and
Yeah.
they come in. I've told my wife probably 10 times, if I could build a photo only real estate media company, I would. It's
Yep.
so much simpler. It's it's kind of when you start introducing video, you kind of get the critiques back, you get the
Yep.
subjectivity. There for a long time, even I think when I was in Vegas last year for Rep and PMRE, a bulk of our packages were photo based, like photo only. Kind of found like when I was in that room, especially at Rep, because I got to be around other business owners, our average order value was pretty low compared to the room, and we weren't shooting much video. And everybody that had decent average order value shot video. I was like, wow, I see a big gap here. So we've introduced that a lot. Our average order value is up like $100 or $150 over last year.
Yep.
But we shoot a ton of video now. But as the video comes in, especially with the way that videos are being taken right now, it's just gotten a little bit more complex. Not
Yep.
not unreasonable, but
they're not as straightforward as they used to be.
no. And then you kind of make these custom video products that you see floating around Instagram, and then next thing you know, everyone's doing them. Now they all look the same. Very
Yep.
interesting. And we have started working with a big group here, and they kind of push against all these like trendy videos, and I'm here for that. So they like to go back to the kind of the classic, what you call quote unquote like cinematic slow push pull, really like simple, elegant videos, and that's like what they want as their bread and butter. I'm like, great. That is so much easier. And honestly, I think by nature of social media, I've kind of we're always trying to innovate for our customers, but I'm kind of tired of the flashy AI enhanced like houses exploding on the cliffside.
I never understood that. It's like we're trying to sell the house. Let's see what happens. Let's see what the house looks like if we blew it up.
Yeah.
Like, that's not,
and you have
that's not good sales.
You have half the agents that I actually do think despise it. They're like, and then you have half the agents that are completely drawn to it. And I think we're kind of in a tricky spot now where we're trying to offer videos that people want, while also I think our soul is not in that flashy space. And it's a tricky spot to be because I kind of got to figure out what our product looks like moving forward, or what our multiple offerings look like.
And that's where going through the brand playbook and the exercise with all that comes in play, even more so, because you start looking at the magnetic messaging and who your target market is. And if your target market doesn't want the flashy, or at least the people that you want to be working with, then that's not what you offer.
Yeah.
And so, what a lot of people find is that the brand playbook is a good exercise to get going, so you have a good idea of what you're doing. But then you start running everything that every package, every offering, every difficult client, you run that through your brand playbook as a filter and say, oh, well, it doesn't make sense to, bend to their will because they're not my target market. Or it does make sense. Maybe we do need to create a better offering around that because that is, that serves our target market and our brand values and what we exist for.
Yeah. So. I think and those are like the thoughts that I'm wrestling with now. I've got your book sitting, I think it's sitting right over there. I've also got, I'm sure you may have watched the launch, but all of the Alex Hormozy stuff, and I'm just trying to, I feel like, I mean, it's only October, but as we go into Q4, deep into Q4 and then Q1, for me, it's refinement, it's thought, it's doing the deep work to course correct if need be. And I feel like right now I'm on the fringe of being able to like get into some of those deep thought sessions and really make some clear-cut decisions. One like simple thing that we just changed, we removed all title cards from our videos. So when you have a branded and unbranded video, if there's not an agent on camera, there's no title. Well, there's no title card regardless, but there's basically no branded version if there's not an agent on camera. And that was driven from a few different things. We talked to about, call it 10 or so of our agents, say, hey, we're kind of contemplating getting rid of these. We don't think they look very good. We don't think they serve much of a purpose, because if you're kind of scrolling through Instagram or we're not on TikTok, but if you're on any of those platforms, it's rare that you see like a video and then you're reading text from a
Yeah.
title card that's redundant information that could be in the caption. So we're like,
Yep.
let's clean all that up. And then from the back end, not having, oh, there's two agents on this shoot, not one. Oh, can our team name be on it, not the broker's name, and all that. So
Yep.
we kind of got there and everybody's like, that all makes perfect sense. And I was like, all right, we're out. So the email went out and they're just trying to make some of the simple decisions that doesn't actually affect the agent's life. And honestly, it
Yeah.
makes our life a lot easier. And we don't have to
Absolutely.
change pricing. We don't have to do anything. Our
So
everything.
you're more efficient and you can scale it because you don't have to have that extra middleman touch point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think
Awesome.
bringing some of those, I mean, that is a really simple idea. We just felt friction in that place. But when you bring information like that to clients, I think that they just appreciate your thoughtfulness. Whether they agree with it or not is not really the point. They're like, oh, you actually do consider this. The points you're saying make sense. And it kind of makes you more of an expert. And I'm like, me and you were sitting here like, we're just talking about a simple title card on a screen. But it's a touch point
But
to
it
give
makes
with agents.
it makes you be a true marketing partner rather than just another vendor. Because a
Yeah.
vendor is just going to provide whatever that they asked for. But a marketing partner comes alongside them to provide value and make sure that you're doing things appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a ton of real estate media companies out there now. A lot of them do really great work. And I want to make subtle changes like that, really simple overnight type changes that kind of separate us a little bit from the noise. And if there's 5 other media companies in my town that all use title cards on the front of a video, and we kind of all start to look the same. Yeah, I think, obviously service could differ, availability, that kind of stuff, but trying to separate a little bit from the status quo, as simple as removing a graphic of I have an in-house editor, kind of just a long-term play, maybe not quote unquote the most fiscally efficient, but has helped us in a lot of ways. He's thrilled about it.
But you end up getting a consistency of product and much easier to make edits and faster turnaround, and
Yeah.
it goes a long way.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that as a trend. A lot of people are bringing more house, at least on the video side.
Yeah.
More in-house. But
yeah. We're doing it. The videos feel a little bit more personal. A little bit the context to our local market too just feels a little bit more in tune.
yeah, that's because they're not editing videos from California and Miami and Canada and Australia. They're editing from Kentucky.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you jumping on to chat. We use a good chunk of whatever we just talked about too.
Sure.
But
yeah.
The intent of what I want to go over is kind of like how you got started. You got even into real estate photography.
Yeah.
What your journey's been from starting it yourself to hiring the members that didn't work out, and then you hired some more, and also what your experience with PixlCRM has been, being able to, how you found us and what drew you to us, and what kind of things that you've actually implemented. Because I know that, in the beginning you kind of set it up and just let it run there a little bit, and then you dive back in.
Yeah.
And
it takes some really spending some time on it. But yeah. I always a little bit creative, always maybe like a little misfit, not in a behavioral standpoint, but just felt like corporate America, or the way that it just wasn't for me. I didn't really consider myself business oriented, but I just didn't know what avenue life would take me. When I was in college, I studied landscape architecture, which was a pretty unique degree, which is, I don't feel that old, but it sounds old when I say this. Back when we were doing presentations, we were still going to like Google Images and typing in like images we wanted to use for presentations. I mean, that was like the standard way that you would make a presentation.
mm-hmm.
So while we were doing architecture presentations, I was like, what if I just, buy a cheap camera, actually take pictures of these sites where actually like there were local sites we were working on. So I can go to the sites, take pictures, had no idea how to use a camera. And that's it was a $200 Canon T3, maybe refurbished, and had no idea anything about cameras, specifically lenses. Didn't know that you could optically blur backgrounds, shutter speeds, all that kind of stuff. So I was probably, 20, 21 at the time, still in college. But back at home, my cousin is a custom home builder. And I was kind of messing around with the camera and I was like, hey, can I take some pictures? I had no game plan to make a career out of it, no game plan to make real estate a career, real estate media. My first exposure to actual work was in real estate. Now, I went on to start shooting weddings. Just kind of I enjoyed the camera itself more than the work that I was doing. It was honestly probably from more a logical mind,
Mhm.
buttons and the dials and the optics of it all. And then editing, I'm not really into any of that stuff anymore. I had my fair share of shutter counts, but so once I graduated school, I I got a job out of college and still doing photography jobs on the side. I'm talking maybe 2 or 3 weddings a year, 10 houses a year, like really passive. Well, once I paid off my student loans, I was like, man, I need to like work for myself. This corporate thing is not for me. And that was
And you
back.
were working in the architectural landscape stuff as your
Nope.
job, or
I
no?
was not. No. So when I graduated, I had a heap of student loan debt and I kind of got on the Dave Ramsey plan. And I fortunately got a job in medical sales, which had a great and some bonuses and aggressively paid off student loans. I paid off about 90 grand in 2.5 years.
That's awesome.
So I wasn't married yet, got rid of all the risk, quote unquote. So I was like, if there's any time to try something out, it's now. So that was back in 2019, full-time 2019, had no book of business. Went full-time in May, didn't have a shoot, weddings, real estate, nothing until like November. I literally like sat on my couch. I mean, I wasn't actually sitting on my couch, but for 3 months, 4 months, no book of business, no income, but I had no risk. I wasn't married, didn't have kids, and didn't have debt. But to fast forward a little bit, I got married in 2020 and we got pregnant with our first son 3 months after we got married. So in 2021, now married with a kid, freelancing, primarily doing a little bit of real estate. I think I probably did like 60 houses that year. If you're familiar with revenue, and
Yeah.
I was probably at like 100 or $150 a shoot in 60 houses. So you can do the math.
Yeah.
Not super sustainable. Wife was helping in the office. We had a studio downtown. We were doing all sorts of stuff, but none of it really working. Then once my wife decided to stay home with our son, and then we had another son after that, and then we just had another daughter. So now that was like 5 years all compressed in one short sentence. We just committed to sticking to one, which was real estate, and it's grown. Once we started focusing on it, that's when it grew. I didn't bring on my first team member until early last year, so early 2024. So it took me about 3 or 4 years to really build any book of business that I felt warranted extra help. From like a revenue standpoint, I don't know if people want to hear numbers or anything like that, but I think in 2023, I might have, or 2022, probably made like 50,000. 2023 made like 80. 2024 jumped up to like 180. And now we're on track for I think like 350 this
That's
year.
awesome.
So
So why did
steady growth,
you
but it
why
feels
did
long.
you choose real estate over, say, weddings or whatever else you were doing with that studio space? And
Yeah, I think knowing that it was scalable without the name being on me. So like our wedding, we thought about scaling a wedding business. That key wedding photography, we really enjoyed it. We worked with great people. It's an emotional sell. We
Mhm.
were higher ticket sell, way less frequent. Almost you feel like every lead that comes through, you have to like capitalize on it. I'd actually say like real estate's the opposite side of the spectrum. And as we were growing a family, and I had no desire to, I don't need my name to be like the attention grabber. I'm very much fulfilled being behind the scenes, building a team, having a well-oiled machine, and real estate just kind of fit that business plan so that anything. So that's kind of
But it still
that,
took you 3 or 4 years before you
dude.
actually hired a team.
These young guns out here, man, they are growing so quickly. And I'm like, part of me is like, I think I'm doing everything right, but I feel like I'm doing wrong because my timeline is way longer than everybody else's.
It's not. It's just your timeline is longer than what everybody else portrays their timeline being.
It's
You
true.
know, I've gone through even in my real estate media business. It was years before I hired somebody, and I went into it knowing that that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, it
I
just seems like it's longer when you start talking
yeah.
about it.
I kind of offend myself a little bit, and this is probably just a little bit of my insecurities coming through. I didn't focus specifically on real estate media until 2023. So I had been
Okay.
doing it for a long, long time. So 2023 is when we basically committed only to real estate. We shot our last wedding maybe later that year, like we didn't book anymore. And I
Hmm.
started coaching that year. And that focus is basically all we needed to see it grow. So I think we built a name in town where people knew that we were photographers.
Right.
They didn't know what we took pictures of. So learned a lot of lessons in that. And the business plan before all this was to almost build redundancy as photographers build a couple different photo-based businesses, be more stable in that manner. But it, I wouldn't recommend that to anybody. I would recommend just stick to one and grow that thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you're growing and obviously, you're saying 2023 is when you actually focused on growing the real estate media side of things. Here and there, did you discover PixlCRM and any of the marketing I was doing or
Yeah.
anything like that?
One of my friends here in town owns a very like a national or global staging company called Stucco. And I was meeting with him one morning and he showed me Go High Level. I knew I needed a CRM. I obviously was using probably HD Photo Hub at the time, since switched to Spiro, but those aren't meant for the type of automations and marketing that Pixel offers. So he kind of exposed me to that whole world of backend CRM. And I was like, well, this is exactly what I need. Now, to your point, that was probably like 2 or 3 years ago. I had strong desires to load it up real quick, have it all kind of going, and it could do a lot of stuff. So I think I got a little bit caught up. I think was a funny thing that whenever I see your name, he probably thinks I turn off and on this review process all the time, and it's always trying to tinker with it. That was out of enjoyment. Part of it was out of being silly. Yeah, so I saw the need as we grew and scaled to have automations in place. Little things just like mass email, like something I could go to MailChimp or something for, but I don't want to hop around to a bunch of different softwares. SMS messaging, I mean, so much. That's just like barely what it can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted a hub of all this stuff. And so then especially when we could pull in webhooks from orders,
And that was a big thing for you because you had your own account with
yeah,
High Level and you're trying to make it work and whatnot. How long did you have that before you came across us and said, "Ooh, that's
uh,
better"?
I would imagine at least a year, if not
Okay.
longer. And
And what all did you have set up? Because I remember pulling your account over.
I think I might have had it in taking contacts as they placed an order. But once I heard that you offered Pixel and you were a real estate photographer, I was like, okay, you know, Go High Level could serve any industry, but it's got to
Mhm.
be built out for somebody that knows the industry. And with you knowing the industry, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I think all of us are smart enough to do a lot of things, but none of us have enough time to do it. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't need to figure this out. Like Pete's Pete's figuring it out for me, so I'm gonna hop on board. And that was the easiest decision ever. I think even at the time you offered maybe two different plans. One was like introductory, one's like if you really want to leverage this, here's the other one. I was like, we'll just go straight to the big one. I want to leverage this to its full capacity. And it's grown a lot since then too, which is awesome. I think that this
Well,
is,
to your point, I have time to work on it rather than,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, because at the
working on it
time,
in between
were
things.
you still doing your real estate or had you already sold it?
I sold it at the end of last year, so I think you were on before then. So
Yeah.
I was still doing a little bit of everything, but I had taken a lot of what I did in my business and all of the years of putting systems processes in place and replicated it inside the system. So
Yeah.
that's what we started with, was a lot of the things that I'd already put together. And so it was just doing this for myself. Here, let me copy it and let you use it. And I remember going on that demo call with you, and because it was one of the first calls I had with somebody who already had experience with high level, and I was like, I could show you stuff, but since it's really the same account, I'm just going to show you the things that I do differently. And as soon as we were done with that call, you're like, sign me up.
Yeah. If anyone has ever messed around on one of these accounts without help, you're just going to get lost. Like it's like a battlefield in there. Much so that you even lock stuff out because it's so easy to mess it up. I'm going to put you on the spot for a second.
Sure.
So you owned a real estate media company.
Mm-hmm.
You saw an opportunity to go with Pixel, and you built this great, super scalable software company. Yet you're servicing people who are doing what you used to do. So my question to you is, what, maybe not opportunity, but what do you think all of us are missing in our real estate media companies that maybe you have a clear picture from the outside looking in? Do you think that there's something that you would say, man, if they would all just this, they could do X, Y, or Z?
It's a really good question. At the moment, I think the big thing is having the systems and processes in place to actually just follow up and stay top of mind. That was one of the core things in my business that I realized early on. Yeah, I've done a lot of different software trying to make things work and do the things that I wanted to do. And I remember very clearly, and it's in my book and I talk about it a lot, but it was very clear that was in between two email platforms at the time. I stopped my newsletter and I ran into a client headshot event, and he came in and said, "Oh, you're still doing this? I haven't been getting your email, so I figured you moved on."
Mm.
And it really hit me that day that just staying top of mind with people, especially in real estate media. I think things have gotten a little bit better over the years because there's more professional companies, but like you started with, you were known as a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with that is, unless you have a studio and they could drive by and see your name there all the time, they don't know if you've given up on the creativeness and went and got a corporate job.
Right.
And because people do that all the time. And until a lot of these professional style companies came out, realtors were hiring the same person that they would hire to do their headshots and their baby photos and their wedding, to shoot the houses. And it wasn't uncommon for them to move without letting anybody know, or go get a job somewhere and not let anybody know. And so it really makes a big difference to stay top of mind with people.
Yeah. I think that in the last 5 years, there has been two people that have left our industry locally, and we've just kind of absorbed some of their clients because they had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something to be said, if there's any business owners out there who are just maybe getting started and it's a little slow, there's something to be said about just outlasting and like having time to sometimes let other people fizzle out, and your name kind of keeps rising up. There was shot for a new agent yesterday, and I was the one out on the shoot. I had never heard of her before. I had never heard of the brokerage, which is like, Louisville's not a super big place. So it kind of was like, hey, how did you find us? She's like, well, I just started my own brokerage. That's why I never had heard of it. She was like, we've used this media company X, Y, or Z in the past. Never heard of them. And so the refreshing part about that is we get so tunnel visioned and thinking we know all the agents, we know all the brokerages, almost like a limited pool of people. And she had this $1 million listing come to us, and we've never crossed paths before. And I think Alex says it all the time that Alex Hormozy was out on the Vegas Strip promoting his book. And like people like us, we know him, but he was walking down the Strip and people have no idea who he is. Yep. So I think you can never market enough. You can never think that people know you enough. I think sometimes I get trapped in thinking like, oh, everyone knows who we are. We've been around for this long. We have a great reputation. And then you come across people and they're like, we've never heard of you. I'm like, oh, we need to do a better job.
20% of the realtors that you know today aren't going to be in business next year.
Yeah, it's wild.
And a lot of them are the ones that just don't do any volume. But it's such a revolving door in real estate.
Right.
And they see that, and so they object that on everybody else, but they also see it in some of these companies. The loan officers that come and go, the title reps that come and go, and so all these people, it's like, unless you stay top of mind and you are actively involved in the industry, they're not going to know that you still exist, and they'll just move on.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, because in New Mexico, where my business was, we had 6,000 agents licensed. Now, that New Mexico is a large state, and we served the whole state, but we didn't actively serve the whole state.
You had 6,000 in the state?
In the state, yep. Which is small. I get that. Most other markets. I mean, you go to California, Florida, probably even in your market, and you've probably got 20 or 30.
Yeah, I think we might have 6 or so in this city.
In the city, yeah. That 6,000, we had, I think, 4,300 were actually active agents, ones that didn't just hold a license for whatever real estate purpose they wanted to. And then of the 4,300, I think we serviced and had about 800 agents that through the life of the business that we had worked with. And so when you start doing the math on that, it's like, there's no way everybody knows who we are. I mean, we and like I said, you got 20% that are just leaving the industry, but you got another 20% that are coming in as brand new agents too. Yeah. Especially, from COVID on. I mean, everybody was jumping into real estate for the longest time when the market's hot.
They were selling like hotcakes.
Yeah. And so you constantly have to be marketing and staying top of mind. The reason that I put the book out, and the reason I put all the content, even this podcast, is that I think that every real estate media company needs to know the framework of how to market. I think I've done a pretty good job of laying that out in the Pixel marketing method. A lot of people are getting a lot of value from that. And so I think, going back to your original question, that the big thing is how to market and how to run a business to stay top of mind. It's funny too, because when I first started my real estate media business, it was kind of an offhand. I wasn't running another business at the time, so let's try this one. And I went into it more of I'm going to just kind of do this while I try to figure out whatever else I want to do next. And I didn't put the marketing to it. I didn't do all of the things that I knew I needed to do. To give you an idea, the business I had started before that, a lot of businesses, but my wife was a realtor for a little while, because we thought we wanted to get into a lot more of the real estate investing and stuff like that. And what better way to know about deals and stuff than actually have a license. So she became a realtor for a short period. She did it probably 4 years, and she was doing that, and it shut down one of my other businesses, and I was like, real estate stuff. So I started doing inspecting, and I started a home inspection business. And when I did a crap ton of marketing for that. I did direct mail, I did ads, I did all the things that you're supposed to do,
right,
when it comes to marketing a business. And then when I decided that crawling in dirty crawl spaces and being on 3-story roofs and looking down, I was like, no thanks. I was done with that and said, let's do something cleaner. Started the real estate media business. I didn't do any of the marketing stuff. It's like all the stuff that I knew I was supposed to be doing, I just figured, well, I'll just pick up a camera and do this thing on the side here, and do it this way. And then it occurred to me really early on. It's like, oh wait, this is just like any other business I've done. I've got to put all the processes and stuff in place, and that's when I started developing all these systems and whatnot. But a lot of real estate media companies, they don't think that way. And we chatted about this before we really started going on the episode here. But a lot real estate photographers tend to come into the industry in two ways. One is they're a creative, and they like the camera, and they like the getting creating the image and lights and all that stuff. They don't tend to have the same drive from a business standpoint, and so they're lacking a lot of that sales, marketing, and business knowledge. Or they come into it like I did, where it's much more of a, this is just another business that I can start, and the creativeness is more of a byproduct, or let me hire it out.
Right.
And so, and you're a little bit of a mix of both. You've got the creative and the more drive to do the business and marketing side, but you still need to know what to do in order to do it.
Right. Yeah, I think what's helpful to me was to realize we're just another business, and people know how to run businesses, and there's nothing that we have to reinvent. We just need to, I think that there actually is such an advantage for us because we're in an industry where there aren't many well-run businesses. Like, I'm talking, if you were to pull everyone together. Now, the circles that we run in, we have a lot of great businesses, but for every one of us, there's probably 10 around us. And so the barrier to entry to run a good business is small or low.
Yeah.
So you take in resources like Pixel or like Rep, YouTube, and you just start learning business. You have to enter in to a market where not that many people know how to take pictures. Your product, one, can't be, I mean, AI has helped a lot with editing and with some customer service automations like what you do, but we still have to physically show up to houses. And that's an amazing thing. So, and although our customers are business owners, I like to think of it, we're just a service-based business, kind of like a home service. The difference being that we're not servicing, we're business to business, not business to consumer.
Exactly.
But for every, electrician company, plumbing company, they've got this stuff figured out.
Yeah.
We just have to see what they're doing and do it.
Yep. Exactly. And tweak it too. I mean, like I said, a lot of what we teach throughout the Pixel marketing method, it's not rocket science. It's not just for this industry. We've tailored it for this industry. I talk about the reactivation rocket, which is the 3-step reactivation campaign. That I took from Dan Kennedy, the godfather of direct response marketing, who took it from the collectors from way back in the 60s and 70s. Back, quite frankly, it's a brilliant idea. If debt collectors can get money from people who don't have money, you should be able to
yes,
get sales from people who didn't want to keep using you.
Yeah,
so.
That's the stuff that excites me about going into the winter months, is honing in on those systems and not just pushing play on what's been set up, but really understand the psychology behind it and understand what's the driving factors here. Is it urgency? Is it scarcity? Is it everything plays in together? And that's, to me, the fun part. That's why I like sitting in the office, because I get to learn a lot. I get to test and trial. But the winter months for me kind of feel like that playground a little bit. Then once the year kind of gets going, kind of feels like I'm hanging on for dear life. But
well, yeah. But that's the excitement in this business.
Yeah.
You go into the winter months and you're just like, woe is me, the world's going to end. No, there's no business.
I look forward to it every year. And then when it's there, I'm like, it would be really nice if there was more shoots, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like that's just, I've talked to several other people, but we're always wrestling with contentment a little bit. And, when it's super busy, we wish it slowed down. When it slows down, we wish it was more busy. So one thing that I've thought about a lot, and I don't have a great answer, is just like, what actually is a successful day, or what is a successful week? It can get kind of lonely. Sometimes it feels like if you're doing task-oriented stuff, it feels like you're moving the needle a lot when you're actually just maintaining or maintenance. So that's something I don't have an answer, but I'd be curious to know if you have any successful, like, how can we find success in a week that's not directed towards revenue, or how many shoots are on the calendar?
I think that the best metric is to look at least getting one action that moves your business forward. That's success, because the thing is that you can't control the market. The market's going to go up, it's going to go down. Amount of shoots are going to go up and go down. You have to adapt and provide the availability that you can for that, and do the marketing you can to attract new clients and retain the ones you have. But it's all about moving your business forward one step at a time. And you're going to have all sorts of things that cross your desk, cross your mind, you away from actually working on the business and back into it on a regular basis. And there's so much you could be doing that if you look at all of the things that you should be doing, the systems you should be installing, and the different marketing avenues, the different touch points, the different, and just research on as to what new AI things coming out that you need to implement, or like we were talking earlier about which videos you should be doing and whatnot. There's so much of that work that's going to come across your desk to pull you in different directions, that if you focus on all of that, you're not going to keep moving yourself forward.
Right.
So you have to take time to step back and look at your business as a whole and say, okay, so what actually is moving the business forward? What actually is working on the business versus in the business? Because a lot of people, they confuse what working on the business is. Working on the business isn't the necessarily the figuring out what video to offer anymore. Because that's not necessarily going to move the business forward. It's going to keep you top of mind and let you stand out a little bit. But when you start looking at it from a strategic standpoint, okay, I need to do something different with my video product because people aren't buying it. Or like you found after January last year, where your average order value was lower than everybody else, and the thing that stood out to you and the piece that was going to move the business forward was restructuring your packages so that you could offer what people are looking for at a higher price point, which increase your average order value. That is working on the business.
Yeah.
But watching Instagram and TikTok to figure out what the new trend is and do a different video, that's working more in the business.
Yeah.
And so making that distinction and actually zooming out and looking at your business from a whole. And this is something I recommend everybody do at least 4 times a year. Yeah, every quarter, at least step back, take a look. What should I be working on? Arnold Miller, with building a story brand and all of those types of businesses there, he has some good advice on business planning and structure. Got a really cool daily planner I used to use that I stopped because I got too much stuff done and needed a break. Quite frankly, I modified his plan a little bit, and I looked at my business every quarter. Every quarter, I'd reset my priorities of this is what and you're not going to get a lot done. You're going to get, what's the saying? You're going to get way less done in a year than you think you will, and way
more in 10.
Way more, I think, or the opposite, something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, I think you can plan on getting a lot more done in 10 years than 1 year, but it's the opposite of what I actually get done. Like that. All that's wrong, but you guys get the idea. But what I like to do is I like to break my quarters up into chunks and zoom out, look at the business as a whole, and say, here's the 5 to 10 priorities I need to do that'll move the business forward. And that's the working on the business side of things. Right. And so you do that, you look at that, and now you've got 5 or 10 that you need to work on, not 1,600 different things pulling you in different ways. And so when you have all of those things that are pulling you in different ways, you just review your list of priorities and you work on that one. Pulled off and you do something else and you fix that, and then you go back and you work on that one. It's funny because when I was working on Pixel, it was I had my priorities for the year and I was doing all that. And then that was one of the reasons I came up with the quarterly version rather than looking at it a year. Another book, I can't remember the name of it, but it actually breaks, I think it's the 12-week year is another book. Breaks everything down into a quarter rather than looking at it from the year, because a year can get away from you so quickly.
Yeah.
You say, I'm going to do all of this year, and you start, working on it, you're working on it. The first quarter goes pretty good. Second quarter, you start slowing down. Third quarter, everything else is blowing up. So you're trying to fix everything else. And then the fourth quarter, well, the fourth quarter doesn't exist. The fourth quarter is an imaginary quarter that you go into, and then you say, I'm going to get so much done this quarter. And then you got Thanksgiving and Christmas and the holidays and the New Year. And you're like, and it's January 1st. And you're like, where did that quarter go? You have no idea.
Yeah.
And so the looking at it from a quarter standpoint, through 3 months, things change so quickly. And if you just reset each quarter of these are the things that I need to work on to move the business forward, you'll be in such a better position than you are if you plan a year, or if you don't plan at all. If you don't plan it at all, you don't know where it's going to go. But that was the thing with PixlCRM, is that when I discovered high level and what it could do and how I was going to do things, that wasn't anywhere on my radar that year. And had I just stuck to my original plan, I would have been in a completely different position than had I looked at my plan and said, okay, here's where this piece could fit, has so much more potential, and I've committed, I'm going to work on this. What else am I going to not work on then? Because out of my 10 priorities, you can't work on everything. And so then I plugged that in there for this quarter, and I started working on that, and then it just took off and created legs and dragged me kicking and screaming in different directions.
I was at a shoot last week and was talking to one of our clients who'd been with us for several years, and I was there training 2 team members. So she was like, when they're out shooting, are you going to be out shooting too? I was like, well, no, the goal is for me to not be shooting. I want to work on the business. And she looked at me and she literally said, what could you possibly work on? And I was like, I think I was shocked that she didn't think that there was anything that we could work on as business owners. But sometimes that kind of, I think, I don't know, you get humbled a little bit to maybe your position in the marketplace as a vendor just trying to get, but I love that position because it shows that a little bit of thought can go a long way. So where, and I'm not saying this is everyone, but an agent could look at us as just photographers. But if you're actually behind the scenes working towards growing your business and building something, you sneak up on people real quick with how fast you can grow. Innovations, simple things like Titus, a pay at close option coming to the market, and all these offerings. Well, before you know it, you've got a team out there. Then agents look to you as not just a vendor, but a partner, because you're working on things that they didn't know was possible. I just thought it was a funny moment in the field as I am working my butt off, barely sleeping, working 12-hour days, and then as soon as she thinks that if I'm not in the field, there's nothing for me to work on, I was just like, sometimes I wish.
Well, and that also goes to show that a lot of as much as agents are small businesses themselves, a lot of them don't treat it as a small business either.
Yeah.
And they don't understand a lot of this business and marketing stuff.
I totally agree. I think that a lot of them are, even like the really successful ones, have no sustainability plan. They have worked really hard to get where they're at, but there's no infrastructure behind it. And so in order for them to replicate what they did this year, they actually have to do the exact same amount of effort or more next year to get the same results. And that's where it's also been fun to be a partner in that realm. And I'm not a business expert, but just saying, hey, have you considered this? Do you have any time to do this? And they're like, no. Because some of them are just a little bit spontaneous and kind of just trudging along. And I'm like, hey, if you ever want to talk about this stuff, I'm happy to talk about it. And like, I have nothing really to offer you other than maybe ask you a couple questions of how can you keep doing this for 3 more years, 4 more years, 5 more years? You have any more kids? Like, and they're kind of like, oh, wow. Like, they say like, oh, you know what you're talking about. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm just asking questions. You haven't asked yourself yet.
Yep.
But that's where awesome. Pixel comes in. I mean, if we're talking about sustainability, longevity, want to put in a lot of effort to get something right and then not touch it again.
Yeah.
Need systems.
Yeah. And that's the big thing is all these systems you can set up, and then it's just consistently running in the background. You can go back and tweak them and whatnot that you need to, but if it happens every single time, then you have a system that allows you to grow.
Yeah.
And agents could use this. I mean, they really should. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of coaches and trainers that are doing things that are awesome for them, but
Right.
a lot of agents just don't take advantage of it. The amount of automation that can be set up, especially in real estate, to follow up and to stay top of mind and whatnot, is tremendous nowadays. But a lot of agents that they're constantly starting from square one every single time that they start the month off. It's like, okay, let's see what are we gonna do to get another listing. It's like,
Yeah.
well, how about the 6 that you had, the last year? Go back to them and see who they know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I should ask for referrals. I forgot about that. And they just don't.
I know.
It's crazy. So, what is your plan for I know you're going into a planning season here,
Yeah.
and you got a lot of things working on. What are you going to work on in Pixel to get your some systems set up? Or what are you
Right now,
excited to work on?
yeah. So you just revamped the review request process. So I'm about to turn that on. I'm going to change up maybe when I say change up, I'm not changing the system that's been built. I might change the messaging that fits our brand or whatnot. So we're going to activate that. We have like 130 Google reviews, which is decent. That's nothing compared to the amount of clients that we've served. And I think we might be the most reviewed business in my local market, and we haven't captured a review in like 5 months. So that's actually like what I was working on today. So we're going to get the review process reactivated. Reactivation process that you've set up is so long story short, we just onboarded a new brokerage that has like doubled our book of business. And I want
Congrats.
to thank you. It's been awesome. And I think I don't want to slow down. That's not the point, but it's filled our calendar, and I don't necessarily need to go do this acquisition right at the moment, which I don't want to get lazy about acquisition, but like we're loaded up. So it's going to give me the chance to kind of refine some of these systems. So retention is big. I get to see the VIPs have fallen out on the back end, follow-up processes. Yeah, revisiting that stuff because I haven't visited it in a year or so. New information. Our brand has changed a little bit too, so I do need to update. I kind of went through a logo refresh. We didn't, really, really subtle things that over time you kind of look like a new fresh face. But that's what I'm working on. So now that our availability, our 2 new photographers has helped tremendously. I'm going to let them run in the field, those 3 guys for a little bit. Probably hire again in January, February, 1 or 2 more photographers. We have 2 brokerages that are waiting on agreements with us, but we honestly just can't fill them right now with integrity, knowing that we're going to serve them well.
Yeah, that's the difference between being a vendor and a partner too.
Yeah.
Knowing that and then making those decisions accordingly.
Yeah. And I've always been maybe a little bit slower to grow, but I feel like our growth has been strategic and manageable and fluid. I think it's been pretty fluid for our clients. I mean, 10xing the business overnight is amazing, but there's some downsides to that as well. Cash flow has been tight, and now we're in a better cash flow position. So small minor changes over a couple different areas, and I feel like in 3 or 4 months we're going to be in a really great place to launch moving forward.
Awesome. Well, that's about all we can cover in this episode. Is there any final thoughts you want to leave people who heard your story, heard about systems, and might be interested in?
If your mind is scrambled, you need to sign up for Pixel. Let Pete's mind be scrambled for you a little bit as you bug him with questions on how to set things up. But no, if you're serious about the business and you're serious about scaling, there should be no other option or hesitation to join. I mean, the cool thing about software is it's such a small price to pay for the leverage it gives you. Pixel being a main driver that, just like your ordering platform that manages your reschedule requests and your driving logistics, like, we're paying fractions of a cost of what these assets give us. So I just dive in and get started, because you're going to need some time to get started.
Yeah, and this is always the biggest time of year too.
Yeah.
As we head into now we're in the fourth quarter, but as we get further into the fourth quarter here, it most parts of the country are going to slow down, other than a couple of weird markets in California and Florida. They kind of pick back up, but this is the perfect time to start looking at your business and planning what you want it to look like for the next year and understanding what you need to do to get there. And so it's funny. Real estate media slows down in the wintertime, and PixlCRM picks up because everybody's signing up for PixlCRM, getting all these systems.
Yeah.
And
It's the great refinement. Everyone's refining their business, which means they need solutions.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So I know that there's a couple of conferences in Vegas. We'll be at PMRE. I think you said that you're gonna hit the Rep conference this year.
I'll be at Rep this year.
So if you're gonna be at PMRE, make sure to be dropping some information about the book signing and marketing mastermind. And if Austin, you want to come back out for another trip to Vegas, we'll be doing. I think it's Wednesday night of PMRE. We'll be doing a marketing mastermind and book signing and little happy hour between a bunch of stuff to talk, get a whole group of us together.
It worked out great last year. The conferences were back to back. I think you and I were at both of them.
Yeah.
And now what are they, like 2 weeks apart?
Yep.
Something like
You get
that.
a little break in between.
Man, if you caught me, if I was in Vegas for 2 weeks, check my pulse. I'm there for like 24 hours and I'm like itching to get back home.
Yeah. I was there for the week and a half last year because of the overlap and whatnot. I think even the year before, I remember. I've been in enough industries that everybody does conferences in Vegas, and so I've been in Vegas way more than I've ever wanted to be in Vegas.
Yep, it's quite the place.
It is. But if you're there, make sure you network with people. These events are great to network and talk to other business owners and see what's going on and see what plans they're making for the new year. So thanks again for joining me and sharing your experience.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. I really appreciate the conversation.
Thanks for listening to the Pixel Marketing Show. You're ready to go from random acts of marketing to remarkable results. Grab your free copy of the Pixel Marketing Method at pixelmarketingmethodbook.com. If this episode helped you, share it with another real estate media business owner. Make sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Until next time.